This isn't a one-man superhero type of approach, right? Everybody has their specialties and what they're really good at. Much like you as a coach, how do I position my players to really lean into their strengths and understand what they're good at and leveraging that expertise?
Hi, I'm Jim Boeheim. Welcome to Playing to Win for Pinnacle. And I'm here today with Mike Schmidt, who's going to teach us a lot about security, cybersecurity, all those things. And I just like to start out by talking about defense from a basketball coach's point of view. Defense starts way, way long before a game starts.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. You don't want to start playing defense in the fourth quarter. You're already on the back foot. So cybersecurity, it's a proactive thing, right? You want to constantly be looking at what pieces are moving, much like on the basketball court, of where do you need to position your players. Cybersecurity strategy is the same thing. How do you position your technology, your employees, your players to make sure that your organization and your customers are protected?
And part of that is the people you're working with have to be able to do their job, understand what they're doing. And if one or two guys are a little off along the way, that's when you have problems, just like on a basketball team.
Yeah, absolutely. Every player on our team has a role to play, and we're constantly figuring out where their strengths and weaknesses are, and we're supporting one another as a team. We're constantly learning, and technology evolves so fast. Things move daily or even by the minute at this point. So staying on top of the new technology, making sure we're learning, we're teaching one another, and help supporting the whole team, because that's how we bring the best solution to our customers.
Yeah, and the thing when you have a group that you have, there's always going to be different personalities, different strengths and weaknesses within that group. And, my job as a coach, when I coached, is to try to get all those guys to fit together so that they, as a team, accomplish what you need to accomplish. And I'm sure it's the same thing in security and cybersecurity. You have to have the team work together.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't a one-man superhero type of approach, right? Everybody has their specialties and what they're really good at. And, much like you as a coach, my job as the CEO of Bentier is how do I position my players to really lean into their strengths and understand what they're good at and leveraging that expertise.
And when you're working with customers, obviously a lot of times a small customer might not realize he needs as much help as a big customer does. It's not just one level. Cybersecurity can hurt everybody.
Absolutely. And that's something we see a lot is the common misconception that, we're too small to be a target or they're going after the big guys. That's not the way it works anymore. Cybersecurity and cybercrime, it's becoming almost an epidemic where you see your small businesses are targeted more frequently than your big businesses. Your Fortune 500 players, they've got the really strong security teams. They've got tons and tons of people on their cybersecurity staff. Your small business might have one person or nobody at all. That's where we come in to educate and prove to them that the impact of a cybersecurity event to a small business is almost worse than it is to a large business, because that's someone's livelihood or their entire team of 10, 50 employees. That could be the organization shutting down if things aren't handled correctly.
Yeah, you're losing the whole thing if you're small and you're just operating on a very small margin and you have one of those attacks, you're out of business.
And that's something we see more and more of is small to medium-sized businesses that are hit with a cybersecurity attack. The vast majority of them don't recover. They don't reopen, or they go out of business within 12 or 18 months of the incident.
Well, the other thing with cybersecurity, to me, and I'm sure this is what I wanted to ask you about, it changes every day. It's not like what you're doing today is going to work tomorrow. There's going to be a new threat, a new something that's going to come, just as there is in my game. In basketball, you're playing this, and then all of a sudden that doesn't work. Now you have to do this. So it's got to be the same thing in security.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to adapt and evolve and, kind of play to your strengths and what you know. But as technology evolves, the approach that we take to security has to evolve with it. With things like AI coming into play now, you're starting to see the barrier of entry into cybercrime is getting lower and lower. Attacks are becoming more sophisticated and they're becoming more frequent because it doesn't take as many hours or minutes behind a keyboard. They can do things faster. They can, kind of iterate on them and evolve their attacks. So our defensive approach has to evolve along with that.
Well, I think too, what people don't realize that there's whole groups of people out there. This is all they're doing. This is all they're thinking about. They're spending 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day trying to figure out how to attack their company, whether it's big or small. And if you're not really on top of it, you're headed for trouble.
The kind of science fiction or the movie version of what is a hacker is the hooded guy in the basement and typing away on a keyboard. That's not the reality anymore. These are organized groups. They're well funded. They're well coordinated. That they strategically pick who are they going after. It's not just some guy in his mom's basement anymore.
Well, in basketball, when they critique coaches, it's some guy in his mom's basement. That's what it is. You don't have to be that smart to do it. You just typed out this coach doesn't know what he's doing, and that's it. Send it off. Fortunately, those people don't do any real harm. They're just people that like to express views that they don't know anything about, but they get to do it. In your business, it's a completely different animal.
It's interesting to watch it evolve, but that's where having a strong team like we have, it's great to be able to, again, play to our strengths and help stay ahead and keep these businesses in our community protected.
So, Mike, what I'm interested in, I think everybody is what's your starting point? What should people be thinking about, and how do you approach those early meetings, that early conversation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is when you're starting out with a new business, or maybe your business is evolving and now you're larger and you need more IT infrastructure. The biggest thing is bring someone in who really knows. In your world, you understand there are your offensive specialists and your defensive specialists. You lean on those people that really understand that portion of the game. Talk to an expert. Talk to someone who understands what's your exposure risk.
And if somebody has a problem and they're already in it, you can still get in and make a big difference, helping them come out of it or to proceed to the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We like to partner with our customers. A lot of times you find people will dictate what the strategy is. That's not the approach we like to take. We want to be a partner. We want to understand, what are your objectives? Where do you want your business to go? Now let's find the right solutions from an IT and a security perspective that meet your business needs.
So, Mike, what happens when you start with somebody and they think they don't need anything? What's some early information or advice you give to people who think they are okay because they're small or don't have a problem yet?
Yeah. One of the things we like to do is we like to work with the businesses to understand what's really within the organization from an IT and security perspective, because a lot of times people think that they're covered, but as you start to go down that road and have that conversation, they learn maybe they weren't aware of everything that's in their environment. They're not sure where every device lives, every piece of software out there, and quickly they start to kind of question, wow, do we really have a handle on all this? And that's not to say they're not doing a good job running their business and things like that. It's just most businesses aren't IT businesses. That's where we come into play, to be those experts in their corner for that type of stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple to me. If you have a business and you don't have somebody helping you with your IT, you're going to have a problem someday. It's just a matter of time, because there's more groups every day looking into trying to get into this field of hacking people.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate reality of the world we live in, but more recently than not, we're starting to see it's a matter of when, not if, something happens. So it's security in layers. What can you put in place to mitigate the impact? And then the flip side of that is, what can you put in place to recover as quickly as possible, reduce the spread of the event, things of that nature?
Well, it's like I have simple passwords, and that's not good. I mean, I even know that, but my it's pretty simple stuff, but it's still something you shouldn't have. You should have something that's a little bit more complex to guard your secrets or your things.
Yeah, secure passwords are almost a must at this point. Multi-factor authentication, people are familiar with it. Your banking app sends you a text message, things like that. That should be table stakes at this point for conducting any sort of business with technology. You need to have those layers of security, not just one thing.
Well, from like what I see with your company, your expertise, it's not just about attacks. There's other stuff involved than somebody just attacking a company.
Yeah, I mean, the security piece is important and it's something we take very seriously, but we go beyond just the cybersecurity side of things and managing the risk. It's also, how do we help these businesses grow? How do we put in place technology roadmaps so as they scale, bring on new products, new employees, how are we supporting them as their technology provider to get there? Whether that's opening new locations and building out network infrastructure, cloud infrastructure so they can have a hybrid or remote workforce, those types of things that really, kind of emphasize productivity and give the business the tools to grow. That's another huge portion of what we do.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, that's huge. I mean, because let's face it, some companies won't come under attack, but you're still helping them.
Yep, absolutely. And we hope that, we get to a point where we don't have to worry as much about security and we can do more of the fun, productivity and infrastructure builds, because that's something that we have an excellent engineering team and they do a very good job. But I enjoy that business much more. It's a lot less doom and gloom.
Sure. Thanks again, Mike, from Bent here. And this is Jim Boeheim, playing to win for Pinnacle.